Hello, Juggalos. We're back, episode 27 of Hatchet Chat. And this is an exciting episode because it's our first episode on a book, on a biography. And we talk a lot about Behind the Paint and a lot of the Juggalo literature. Tom Dubb wrote a book, but our man, Mike Shepard, hooked up with Project Born, a longtime fan of 30 years who'd been writing in the Flint area. And he wrote a dope biography, Forever in the Jects, which drops today, July 7th. And we're talking to Polk and Mike Shepard about the book. So welcome.
Thank y'all for having us, man. We appreciate, y'all having us on here, man. It's always to be on here with y'all, man.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And it's funny because you guys were on our Forgotten Freshness Volume 1 and 2 episode back in January. And we were just talking about, your early days of Psychopathic. But it was all the way back then you actually mentioned that you guys were working on a book. And at that time, I don't think anybody had known. And here we are, just not even a year later. And you guys are just dropped the book. And we got a sample copy. And dude, I haven't finished it. But from what I've read, it is so dope. I can't wait to ask you guys some questions about it.
So to get into it, like, Project Born, 25 years in the game in hip hop. That is incredibly rare. That's very rare because especially now, most rappers have a run of a few years, and to stick around that long, is phenomenal. And so the question is, how did y'all connect with Mike Shepard, and what made you decide it was time to put this book together?
Like over the years, man, during our run, we always sit down, me, Nitty, and Pine sit down and thought about, dang, man, we want to do a book. Our main goals was a book and a movie about Project Born. Years and years, and talks, whatever. So, like Mike, he hit us up on Instagram, and I seen the message, and I reached back out to him. He's like, man, I write and everything. I was like, all right, cool. I said, man, it's funny you hit me up. We always talk about it. So we met up, talked for about an hour and a half in the parking lot, over at the Secretary of State out here in Flint Township. And the vibe was just good, We talked, and I'm, because me, I like to feel somebody out first. You could tell me you could do something, but you could just be talking. So when I met up with him, I'm like, all right, my man seemed like he know what he talk about, and and then the vibe was good. Then we met up again, and ever since then, been my homie, man. I've been knowing him for, I don't even know if it's been a whole year yet, but when you meet somebody and you just vibe with them and you just get that connection, man, and he's a good guy. He's good with the pen writing, man, doing his thing on that. So that's how it came about, man. Mike Shepard, the man.
No doubt. And Mike, you got a lot of writing experience. You're currently the head writer for Rocks TV as well. And it's a super in-depth look. I've already learned so much, and I'm kind of like one of those nerdy juggalos. I read all the interviews and stuff, but I've only read two or three chapters so far, and I've already learned so much about the early days of Project Born. How long? It seems like such a extensive look into their career. How long did you spend with them putting together this book?
Oh, we were pretty intensive, man. We sat down and we kind of planned out what we were going to do. And we really hit it hard. There was several months in a row where it pretty much, either every day or every couple of days, me and Polk, or I was meeting up with Polk and Nitty and Pine or whoever. And, we were going at it pretty hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
And and about, about 4 or 5 months of pretty heavy coverage. And we were able to capture what I was looking for. And basically it was just like a literal start to finish to the present day, and I think we accomplished that. So yeah, I was really happy with it.
Absolutely, man. It's so fresh. And I mentioned to you yesterday, the format is just, it's a really fun read. You transition, you start most of the chapters from quotes from various figures in the Detroit world and just the underground music world, and then you'll go into the biography section, and then you'll get Project Born's thoughts on the subject at hand, and it feels like such a casual and light read, but you're somehow learning an insane amount of knowledge at the same time. So I wanted to give you props on the format, dude, because it's very unique, but it works so well.
Hey, Snax, you know what's crazy, man?
What's that?
After we got the book done, he hit me up like, Polk, man, it's done. So I went out to his house, sit down. I'm sitting on the computer reading it. Now, this is a story that from us, we telling these stories. I hadn't heard the story, read it in like full. I'm just sitting back reading, like I'm laughing, like, damn, I forgot that story. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. And it's coming from me, us three, that I lived, you know, saying, through the whole thing. And I'm just like, damn, I forgot about that story. I forgot about that one. Like,
hell yeah, that's the shit. And I can imagine, like, you know, putting together a book like that, you like, it must be almost like a therapeutic feeling, just kind of going through your whole career up to date. Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, man, it was, like I said, man, like the first time we sat down, it was all three of us with him, me, him, and Indian Pint, and him. He just put the recorder on and we just talked. Just like he asked us a question, then Nitty would run over, I run Pint, and we just going down memory lane, like, damn, that happened in 98, that happened in 2001, just like then like our personal lives, as far as like things that happen in the streets when we was, you know, running wild and doing the things, it's like crazy, man. Like, and we still here, like Lars said, 25 plus years later, able to tell the story. All three of us living, you know, got all our senses and everything, and still doing music, traveling, doing shows. It's like, man, it's a blessing. We blessed, man, and
hell yeah,
you know, can't complain.
No doubt.
Yo, I was wondering, so the last year's been crazy, right? Like with COVID and stuff. Did you do most of these interviews before, or was COVID like a good excuse to sit down and like marinate and focus on something? Because I know a lot of people, like myself included, were able to spend this year creating a lot of content. How did that work with the chronology of the project?
Yeah, actually, yeah, COVID was in, and like that really, you know, like of course the music game, it hurt the game, but it helped, because like you said, we had time to get these people and sit down with the ones that was, you know, able to get it face to face. You know, of course we had to, you know, do what we had to do, distance and all that mask, but it was good then. You know what I'm saying? Got a lot of people sending in interviews, but the COVID kind of helped, like you said, for able us to get everybody their interviews and everything done. So, but
that's what's up.
It was a good experience.
Okay, so talking about this project, the Juggalos are gonna love this book because Project Born has always been down with the Juggalos. You don't shy away from that. Violent J said in the book, he has a quote saying, like, you know, every group we signed has ever come back to resent us for some reason, not Project Born, and that's why we love them. We're family forever. And that's what's up. Like, it's a book for the Juggalos, but the hip hop community at large can appreciate it, which I feel like is a good metaphor for Project Born's music. Mike, there's a lot of great photos through this book, and that's like something that the Juggalos will be stoked about. Like, what was the process of getting the photos together? Did you have access to the archives? Did Polk and Nitty get you the photos? Like, talk about that process.
Yeah, well, it was kind of cool because, you know, being a fan from going back to 93, you know, and also a Juggalo, you know, even before we commonly referred to ourselves as Juggalos, you know, that didn't come to like a little bit later. But yeah, I was around, man. And so I would go to the record stores and I would collect flyers and shit, you know, just for the shows or the releases. So a lot of the stuff I had, and some of the other artists that I interviewed for the book, like Goza, he had some flyers and stuff. So we were able to get some pictures. But then when we actually decided to really get into the book, me and Polk D, Little Polk, you know, we just hit the road, man. And we took a lot of those pictures just out on our own. We visited the old sites, old venues. We went back to the old neighborhoods, you know, where the guys came up, and we went over to the projects. You know, we really, you know, like we really did. We stayed busy for a couple of months, just taking pictures and gathering everything we could for the book. So that's pretty much a lot of the things that you see in there either were from family artists or me and Polk, man. We just hit the road and went and got them.
Right, man. He came out with pictures. He was sending me pictures, showing me like, "Oh, look at this." I'm like, "What the hell you get that from?" Like, man, like flyers and shit. I'm like, man, that's crazy.
Hell yeah. I knew the first time I had ever seen the flyer for your guys' show with Esham and ICP was from that book. Like, and I've seen my fair share of flyers, but I've never laid eyes on that until just yesterday when I was reading it. And like, I just can't wait to see what other crazy photos I'm going to come across.
Right. He sent me a picture yesterday, man. He had on the first Born Dead shirt.
Wow.
I was like, man, I ain't seen one of those shirts in 20 some years, man.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. The book is called after the lost record for Forever in the Jects. So two questions. Polk, like, do you feel like did you guys get a hold of a way to copy the record and release it? What's the status with the lost record?
Crazy? We found the studio. Actually, we bought an ADAT machine first of all. We went to the studio. It didn't somehow, we don't know what it was, it didn't work. So, but we ended up finding a guy with a studio with the machine. So we went 3 hours in there, man. We pulling up, we got nothing, but we only found like, Mike, was it like 2 or 3 songs from the Forever and the Jets? Like, it wasn't nothing on there like old Born Dead stuff, Crap or Natural. We don't know how it happened. We don't know if it was other tapes lost still or what.
Okay. But so it wasn't the full record that you found?
No, it wasn't the full record, though. It was only like, I say, Mike, wasn't it like 2 or 3 songs that was like supposed to be, that was Forever and the Jet songs? I think it was 2 or 3.
Yeah, it was kind of wild because on the ADATs, you know, they're like little VHS tapes, and there was like, I don't know, like 9 or 10 of them. And yeah, we were at the studio and going through them, and yeah, I think there was you know, three from Forever and the Jects, and then there was like just like also just random stuff on there. It was really wild.
Right.
Holler. So the book is named after the album, because tell us what was the thought process in naming the book?
The thought process was more or less like, okay, we talked about like, okay, damn, we found the ADATs. This was the beginning. Like, okay, we found the ADATs, got with Mike. This would make sense if we could get that album out with the book. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense. You know, this was the album that was supposed to be coming out. People always ask us, y'all gonna ever come out Forever in the Jets? Because they see it inside the Born case and all that. So that was why we named the book that. But once we couldn't figure it out, we couldn't get the record, we just said, you know what, we're gonna still roll with the Forever in the Jects. You know what I'm saying? That was a song actually on Forever in the Jects, an actual title of the song, one of the songs that we didn't find back in the day that was made in like 92. So all Forever in the Jects was always something that we always wanted to do. So just kept it at that.
For sure. And I mean, even finding 3 songs like from that album, you know, is legendary. And Mike, you actually talk about in the book, like separating myth from legend about that lost album, because it's been talked about for years and years. So 3 songs, like I'm still geeked about that. Are those going to see the light of day anytime soon?
I don't know, man. We ain't talk about that. I don't know, man. It did. I don't know. I didn't thought about that. Right now, man, myself, we have different looks and stuff sometimes. Like me, I'm kind of like focused on the new
word.
Bringing the new music out, whatever, you know. So we have a new single with the coming with the book. It's gonna be a surprise single.
Dope. That's
fresh. So let's talk about the history. So Polk, you were part of Children of the Corn, right? For a minute. And you were an early member of Project Born. You're mentioned in the first album, like as one of the OG members. Let's talk about the Flint scene. And it's interesting how ICP felt like y'all were too big to sign, because they were so enamored with the hip hop community in Flint that it felt like it was something so inaccessible to them. And that's like indicative of an era before we have all the social media metrics and all like the ability to see what's popular where, just knowing like, oh, this scene is happening, this music's great, how do we become part of it? Like, let's talk about the early years of Project Born and what the scene was like back in the day. Maybe Polk, you can go first, and then Mike, you can talk about your experience as a fan.
Okay, like in the early, well, I started rapping like 89, 88. Nitty started, maybe like a year or two, maybe around the same time. But then, you know, of course, they performed the group Project Born. I wasn't in the group in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And then they started doing the songs like the Forever the Jects songs and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. I wasn't in, I was with the Children of the Corn, like you say. And the songs that they had, we finally met with did the song with Eshawn, and then Psychopathic got word, you know, that whatever, you know, Psychopathic came called, they did a show and they came calling or whatever. I wasn't in those actual songs, but then I ended up getting put in the group doing, that's why you see my name inside the EP, but I wasn't on none of those songs because those songs was already done. And those years, man, those was great years. Like we used to go to just book studio time, 10, 15 hours, just go to the studio, meet the Children of the Corn. It was like a bunch of us from the neighborhood, Massacres, a bunch of groups, you know, Ghetto Thugs, all that. We had a good like clique of artists, man. And those days was great. Like today, you know, we got the internet, man. But back then we had to grind. get out, hit the trunk, you know what I'm saying? And those was the good days, man. You know what I'm saying? And we had a lot of fun recording we had a lot of records back then, man, that's lost. Not just the Forever and the Jects, like stuff we used to do as a crew and Children of the Corn music, we had got a lot of stuff floating around here somewhere that could be released if we ever got our hands on it. But
Word.
It was good days, man.
That's what's up. Because that era, it's interesting, Polk, because, you know, I'm a big student of hip hop history. And when you look at the way like hip hop came from New York in the 70s to the Midwest, when it hit Chicago and it hit Detroit, there was a lot of ways that the four elements were preserved with like graph writing, battling, you know what I mean? Like break it dancing. Was that part of the Flint scene? Like what parts of the old school Bronx elements were part of the hip hop scene in the 80s, if any?
Yeah, all of it actually, man. Like you would see that a lot around here, man, in back in the days, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you go to show or go downtown, you know what I'm saying, like outside, you know what I'm saying, in the parking lots and all that. So all that. Then, you know, then when Breed came, you start seeing, you know what I'm saying, the graffiti, you know what I'm saying? If you like look at, I think his first video, which one was that? The Future in Your Front and all this, and then to this day, like you start see stuff now as far as like the graffiti down, you know what I'm saying, all the stuff going on. So yeah, all of it was all folk.
So was Breed the first like big, like one of the first influential rappers from Michigan?
I say the first.
Yeah.
I mean, like rap, Breed pretty much, of course, Flint, he put Flint, you know what I'm saying, got Flint, you know what I'm saying, notice, whatever. But I say Michigan too, man. I would say Breed as far as rap.
He worked with Pac, right? He was like, that was a big look for him.
Too Short, Eric Sherman, worked with all of them, everybody. Did
you ever meet him or work with him in any capacity?
Yeah, we got a song with him on our album, Ghetto Celebs. We did the song. We was in the studio together. We shot it's crazy. We shot a video with him for that song, but it never got released. It's crazy. We used to do stuff back in the days, man. This was an old two when we did the song and the video, but never released the video. We don't even know where the damn video is.
Those are the days of physical media where if you lose that master copy, it might be gone forever.
Yeah, man. We was at the radio station. We was live on the radio station with him in the studio at hotels, like filming and filmed the whole night, riding limos. Video never released to this day, man.
Maybe that will be it's in a box with Forever and the Jects, right?
Yeah.
Do you think Flint will be remembered as a Memphis of underground hip hop, you know, in a way that certain cities have a association? Chicago's associated with the blues. Maybe Flint will be connected with that kind of like real underground hip hop sound. What do you both think?
Yeah, I think it will, man. And like I said, Breed, you know, he was a talented dude, man. Like sitting up in the studio, of course, I had already heard his music and knew what he'd done, but just to sit in the studio with him and just watch him as he write. And you know what I'm saying? And he actually wrote the hook for the song too. And dude was real talented, man. And like I said, he paved the way for the city. And if the city gonna be remembered as, because we got a lot of artists still, these little young guys coming up, man, that's good. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them. And you know, of course, us, Dayton Family, Top Authority, Scamming with Jake the Flake, everybody who did their thing, you know, our homies from the hood and the other hood neighborhoods. So yeah, we're gonna be remembered. If it's crazy if we would all came together. I'm gonna say to this day, if we do come together, we still have a chance, man, that we can still do some good things, man, especially like our older groups, you know what I'm saying, like Date Family, us, Top Authority, like our name.
Mike, what is your, like, real quick, what is your memories of the Flint scene back in the day? And do you feel like it will be remembered as like a legendary time and place for hip hop?
Yeah, it was amazing to come up in the mid 90s. You know, I was born in 1980, so I was right at that right time. You know, in the early 90s, I didn't have a license, you know, I wasn't old enough to work. So all my attention could be focused like on the music scene. And the stuff coming out of Flint was amazing. You know, Flint and Detroit, the underground music, it was like to see it in real time was unbelievable. And it's kind of hard to explain, I guess, to maybe younger fans, the newer Juggalos, like what it was like, because, you know, I see a lot of people on, you know, social media, they might complain about like a delay in a gift bag or a delay in a CD and shit, man. Back in the 90s, you might wait 6 months for the fan club letter to come out, you know, and then the shit that's on there might be delayed a whole year. And like, back then, you just kind of dealt with it. We were just happy to, be getting the letter or whenever the releases came out, no one cared. This was like our shit. And there wasn't like a time specific thing where if I don't get my gift bag, I'm not going to be a fan anymore. It wasn't like that. And yeah, so as I got older and, it was amazing. The Midwest, but specifically the murder mitt in Detroit and Flint, there was so much going on. And it was like, as a fan, it was like, we couldn't understand. It was like the whole scene was just ignored, on like a bigger scale, and it was like, dude, when are we going to get our due? When are our artists, going to finally, get some of that love? And it was like they had the blinders on for Michigan, and so I think finally, and that was part of the motivation for the book, is just letting people know as we get older, some of this shit, it starts to get forgotten or artists start to pass away like Breed and stuff. And it's like, if we don't capture this now, man, who the hell else is going to write the shit, people that weren't even there. So yeah, I think in the long view, man, I really think that, when people turn around and look back at what was going on in Michigan, they'll be blown away. It was a serious scene, and it still is. And there's people out there keeping it alive. Project Born still running hard. So yeah, man, I think eventually we'll get our due, man. But in the meantime, we just got to post up and wait.
And one thing, like I wanted to ask, where Flint and Detroit, they're close together, like when it comes to the geography on the map, but as far as the music scene goes, especially in the 90s, they were so separate and independent. Like, and Project Born, like it's talked a lot about in the book that Project Born, like when things really started taking off, was the collab with Esham with Losing It, and the shows that you guys were doing with Esham. Like, did it feel like, oh my gosh, when a collab happened like that between a Flint artist and a Detroit artist, did it feel like a big connection because those scenes were in many ways so separate?
Yeah, actually, man, that Losing It song, if you look back, that Losing It song was really that big, like one of the first big, if not the first big Detroit Flint connect, as far as like collab. And because when Esham was doing his thing, before, the collab, he was hot in Flint too. A lot of people knew about Esham. And then when they heard about the Losing It, when the Losing It single dropped in '93, it was like, damn, they got Esham on there. Nobody was doing nothing with Esham. They knew about it, but nobody was collabing with him.
Word.
Here, especially here in Flint. Actually, around the country, Esham wasn't doing collabs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when they heard that Losing It, like people to this day be like, man, I still can't believe that y'all got my man back then. Like, cause
they done lost it.
He was doing his thing, but it's like he was kind of like untouchable to where he wasn't doing nothing. And then to see Project Born, like the first one to get that with him, it was huge.
No.
At Polk, they were like young, right? Like y'all were like teenagers, right? That's the other impressive thing.
Yeah, they
were
was
kids.
When they did that song, I think they was like 15, 16. But in 92, they did the song in 92. So yeah, like 8, 29, yeah. Fonzie probably like 16, 17, 15, 16, yeah, fine, yeah.
And so the scenes were different. And I'm just curious, like, if we look at the lyrical influences, Flint hip hop it seems very lyrical. The cadences are very musical, and like Detroit is lyrical in a different way that feels more technical. But when you listen to like the old school Flint stuff, it kind of has like a melody. It almost feels like jazz influenced in a way that's different. And I'm wondering, like, why is that? Why does Flint have such a specific sound? Is it because everyone learned from each other at the shows? Is it because everyone looked up to Breed? Is it because you were just doing your own thing? Like, what influenced the technical lyrical elements of Flint hip hop, Polk? Like, is that even an answerable question?
I mean, I can answer as far as like from us.
Yeah.
Our point of view, like I'm gonna speak for all three of us. We was more of myself, I'm a Rakim, Ice Cube, LL Cool J, KRS-One, that era, you know what I'm saying, where, and Nitty the same, I speak same thing with Nitty, Scarface and all that. So that was the word we was getting out, because our uncle, man, he's the guy who really was putting us up on those music, because he's the DJ back then. So he was play all the records, the Rakim. Rakim is like one of my favorite artists, like number 2, Tupac first with me. And that's where we was getting it from, man. Just listen to that. He DJ, and then he used to perform LL I'm Bad all the time. So I was like, damn, man, I used to listen to it all the time. Listen to the record. Then that's where I was really like, if you listen to my music today, our music today, you can hear a lot of that, like those influences, like Q, the NWA, and all those people I just named, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's where our music like style come from, pretty much.
Did you guys feel more connected with the West Coast hip hop or like the East Coast? Like, what did it feel like in the Midwest? Like, did you feel like you were right in the middle, or did you kind of feel like you guys were like connected with one side more than the other?
I'm gonna say more West Coast,
Where
more gangster shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know? And then, but see, like to this day with me, like to this day, I'm connected like more with the West, but I still throw a dab or two, you know what I'm saying, with that East Coast in there, you know what I'm saying, down South. So I try to just be versatile all over. Like when you hear a song from me, man, I try to be different on each song. You know what I'm saying? Not biting no style. I got my own style, but you know, you hear those influences, Pop, Q, you know, stuff like that. So.
That's what the benefit of being in the Midwest. Like Tech Nine talks about being in Kansas City, you have all these styles around influencing the strange music sound. It's a similar thing, right? Like, and you hear that in ICP too. Like something about Project Born and ICP is that you're both great storytellers. Mm-hmm. And that comes from like picking the great storytellers from all the different coasts, not being stuck in one style. And I think that might be a very important part of your longevity, being able to be like flexible like that, right?
Right. And then if you listen to ICP interviews, some of the interviews, like some of the names that I mentioned, they mention them like as they influences. You know what I'm saying? If you look at the gatherings, they bring every artist. I don't know if they're doing Rakim yet, but artists that I named as influences, they bring them because they influenced by them too. You know what I'm saying? The same music.
No doubt.
I think if I can just jump in there a little bit, I think also too, just the natural layout of Michigan, man, it's kind of like we're our own little scene. We're surrounded by water on all sides. And the fact that like we got ignored by kind of like the East and West, or the, like, I would say mainstream music scene, it kind of like, it took the pressure off, I think, for some of these guys, because the radio was never going to play anybody. So you didn't have to worry about that. MTV didn't give a shit what was going on here either. So you could throw that the radio soft shit out the window and you could really get raw. And because the scene was left alone for so long, you know, you had a chance to really stretch your legs out a little bit. And I think a lot of artists did that. And I think that also might have had a little bit of like how the sound developed here, you know, because when I got in to listen to rap as a fan, you know, it was East and it was West or whatever. But when around the mid 90s, man, when you had Esham, you know, Nodis, ICP, Project Born, there were so many, like, we quit giving a shit about the East and West, kind of like it was like, man, we got our own stuff right here in our own backyard. And it didn't really, it sounded a little bit like both, but it was like, it's like a hybrid, man. It was totally its own thing.
Right.
Well, there was that period like from 97 to like 2003, 2004, where hip hop was Detroit, was Michigan. I mean, that was what mainstream rap was. It had that moment. And it's interesting. It's like an example, like if you can independently do your own thing for long enough, people will catch up with you. All the major labels came to Michigan, or the bigger independent labels, when the scene was already established. So Mike, let me ask you a little bit about that, about your memories, because like what's interesting to me about the Michigan hip hop community is how it feels like the racial lines are kind of blended. And this is my impression, like from like the fact that ICP works with a lot of different artists and different backgrounds. What was it like back then going to shows? Were the shows, was there a diverse audience, or did you feel like as a white person that like you were kind of in a minority with that? Or like, how did hip hop in Michigan become more, I don't know, I would say multicultural, or has it?
I think a lot of it had to do with General Motors, you know, and when they built all the factories in Flint and Detroit and all over the state, you know, workers from all over the country came here kind of like for a better life to, you know, get paid, you know. And so the racial makeup of Flint and Detroit, you know, it was diverse. And like I said, you know, we're all just kind of standing around, you know, the best you could hope for is maybe getting a job at General Motors. Back in the day, we all planned on it. And of course it didn't happen. But, you know, everyone just kind of frequented the same stuff. You know, it was like, it wasn't really like, you know, we listened to Isham and then ICP, Project Born. And I don't know, it just seemed like it was just, no one really, it wasn't a big deal. You know, we would just go to shows and, you know, yeah, it was, I think it did have a lot to do with just the actual makeup of the state, you know, and General Motors' influence on bringing, you know, different cultures to the state, you know, I think had a hand in that anyway.
What, Polk, like in your experience, just to be candid, did working in the ICP in that world, do you feel like that made your audience more, I don't know, did you get more white fans, or was it like more like, or was it always kind of an eclectic fan base that was a Project Born fan?
Like before we got with ICP, like we would do our thing, you know, so like I said, doing the music, sending it around. It was more, we didn't have a lot of white fans. You know what I'm saying? People, like, they knew about us in Flint, you know what I'm saying, the Flint, the surrounding areas. But when we started dealing with ICP and then that first gathering in Novi in 2000, because see, before that, we hadn't done a show with that many people. So when they called us, I talk about it in the book, when they called us about a gathering of Juggalo, you know what I'm saying, whatever, I was like locked up at the time. You know what I'm saying? I was in this spot called New Path. It was like a jail, next thing to jail. But so we didn't know. We like, man, what? We knew about ICP, they crowd. Of course, a couple of shows was done before that, but with them or whatever it was, but nothing like this. So we like, damn. So when we get there, it's like what, 9,000, 10,000 people there, Mike?
Yeah, it was up there.
And we like, damn, we seeing people from all over the country, majority white.
Right.
We like, damn, this is crazy. Like, man, because we never knew, we knew we did the deal with ICP in 95. We knew what Born did, but we never went outside the states to tour, none of that yet. So we didn't know the reach that it, you know what I'm saying, with that Graveyard song or Losing It did. And to see that in Novi in 2000, it was crazy. Like, man, it was like, what, man, like I said, 10,000 people, majority white, like 95%, maybe more, you know what I'm saying, white. It's like, we just appreciated that, man, but we was overwhelmed. Like, damn, this is crazy, man. Like, we couldn't believe it. Because I heard a story, Master P, I'm gonna end it with this. I heard a story about Master P. His first show, I don't know if it was his first show, he said, but he said he came out, and when he came out, he looked in the crowd, he said, 95+% was white. He said, that's when he said, that's when he knew he made it. I said, what did he mean by that? Because where we're from, we wasn't around a lot of whites like that. We had whites in our neighborhood in the project. We had a couple like that's real homies with us. Never had problems. We never, none of that racial, none of that. But when he said, that's when I knew I made it. And I was like, what the f is he talking about? And then I thought about the gathering. I said, damn. Because when you're from the hood like that, the project, you don't see that.
Word.
That's a cool story.
That is a cool story, and I never heard that quote before. And I'm glad we touched on the gathering when you guys, you know, you played that first gathering, because it's such a cool way to open up the book. The book actually opens up, you know, talking about that gathering before the beginning of your guys' actual biography section. And I just thought that was so dope, because one thing that struck me and Lars when we did the Forgotten Freshness Volume 1 and 2 episode back in January with you guys, like, you guys do not shy away at all. Like, a lot of artists, you know, we see it all the time, just kind of dip their toes in to get the benefits, but don't really want to be associated with it. You guys have just such your appreciation for the Juggalo world comes off as so genuine. Like, it's not, you're not trying to just cater to them for the, you know, benefits, but you're also not trying to shy away from it, from the negative connotation. So I just thought that was dope, and I just thought that was such a fresh way to open up the book. Like, can you maybe talk about the decision to like start with that in the book?
I'm gonna let Mike answer the part with the decision on that part, but let me ask you this about the Juggalos. I just want to comment on that. Man, like I said, we first in 2000, well, of course before, but 2000 was really the cornerstone of our relationship with the Juggalo. To this day, that's 21 years ago, man. We don't shy away from it. It's funny, like maybe about a few months ago, man, we was at a gathering, not at a gathering a few months ago. We was at a gathering one time, maybe a few years ago. Mm-hmm. But this guy and this girl, we stopped at a Walmart, leaving the gathering. We stopped at a Walmart, two Juggalos, a girl and a guy. They were stranded. They didn't know how they was gonna get home. They was from Massachusetts. And we was walking in, they're like, man, talking to us, oh, Project Born, you know what I'm saying? Showing us love and that we show, hey, how y'all do? We talking to them, walking. They're like, man, we don't know how we gonna get home. We family. We don't know. And the reason why I bring this story up, because like I said, they hit us up a few months ago and just thanked us, like, and this happened years ago.
Word.
Yeah, we didn't know how we was gonna get home. We had no money, nothing, and y'all gave us money, and we made it home safely. Wow. Y'all didn't know us, but y'all knew we was family, Juggalos.
Oh yeah.
And that story sticks in my head, and it just makes me. We didn't do it. We did it because that's the type of dudes we are. Right. But we also did it because that's family, Juggalos.
There's no doubt that you guys are family, man, and you guys are everything that's dope about Juggalos. That's the shit.
Hey man, that's where that song, we never switch.
Right.
Switch. That's part of that meaning, man. We rocking with you, we rocking with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, when I was putting the book together, you know, I was trying to think of like a dynamic way to really set it off, you know. And I was at the first gathering, and you know, I'd run into the guys at the show, and there's a picture of me and Nitty in the book. Right. But when we were doing the book and putting it together, it was funny because years earlier, the guys that did a talent show, you know, over at Carpenter Road Elementary and the projects, and the guy said that if you didn't win this talent show, man, you know, you didn't get no respect. You had to come out hard and win this shit. And so, right. You know, you think about the time frames, man. I mean, within 10 years, they go from winning like a talent show at this little school on the city of Flint on the north side, you know, in a tough neighborhood. And, you know, within 10 years, they're playing for thousands and thousands of Juggalos in Novi. And the contrast really blew me away. And, you know, I thought about it and I was like, man, this is kind of neat. So it kind of gives you like a sneak peek of what's to come, you know. I mean, like all books, you got to start at the beginning and, you know, whatever, hit the history. But yeah, it was like a glimpse. And like I said, I also thought it played a great contrast to just like the humble beginnings, man, the humble starts. You know, these dudes came from a place, you know, no power, no water, man, you know, and this is how far they made it. By 2000, they're at the gathering, man, and they're playing for thousands of fans. So I thought it was a proper way to start the journey, you know, in the book there.
For sure.
And you know what? You know what's crazy? When he started writing that, and I read it, because that, of course, I don't know about writing no damn book. That's where he came in, his mastermind. I was like, Mike, that's 2000. We started it. Well, we built our first single in 93. Why would you go 7 years after? But then he laid it out to me and explained it to me. I said, damn, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why, you know what I'm saying, when you put two, you know what I'm saying, minds together, I didn't understand, but he did. That's how, when you put a team together like that, man, good things come about.
For sure. Yeah, it feels right. Like I wouldn't probably have thought to do that, but when you're reading it, it feels so right. And then when it transitions into the beginning of the biography, it hooked me. It got me hook, line, and sinker, man, for sure. I can't say enough about this book.
Appreciate it.
You know, one of the themes of this show of Hatchet Chat is like the storytelling element, right? Like looking at the story of psychopathic. And that's what I love about hip hop and literature, is that it tells the stories of our experience, right? It's like, and we find similarities between different cultures and different worlds. And poetry and writing is such a unifying element, because at the end of the day, we're all going through the same stuff, no matter what we look like, where we're from, where we came up, you know. And it's interesting to me that like an opportunity like Mike to write the Project Born book is a singular one, because oral culture comes and goes quickly. These stories, if they're not documented, we forget them. If the songs we write that express our experience aren't recorded and shared, they don't spread. So I guess my question is like, in terms of the overarching narrative, Polk, like what is some of your hopes for the Project Born legacy? And I want to ask Mike about what are some of your hopes for this book as the story continues to be told? So Polk, like what is some of your hopes that people will talk about y'all in 20 years, you know?
I just hope, man, that people talk about us and just know, like, look where these dudes came from. Look how they, you know what I'm saying, from us, me and Nitty coming from Kentucky, like he said, no water, no power. Look where they came from. coming from the projects, same drug dealings, seeing shootings and killings and all this and that and that. 3 young project guys with basically everybody told us, you ain't gonna be nothing. Y'all ain't gonna be nothing. We wake up every morning, when we step out our door, we see drug selling, we shootings at night when we go to sleep, can't sleep, everything. And they had a 30-year career. Whether they was millionaires, they toured the country, they dealt with big artists, they did interviews with guys like you guys. People, they showed respect, they got respect, and they still doing it, man. And they kept going, and they kept going, and kept going, no matter. It is like everything we've been through, even after us being, being adults, man, like going through stuff like that. And just to inspire, hopefully we can inspire the next generation and the generation out there, like, damn, look at those guys. You know what I'm saying? Nitty, Polk, and Pint, they didn't give up. No matter what they had their problems along the way, but they didn't give up. They kept putting out good music, man. And I just want us to be an inspiration to all, man, coming from all the young kids coming from the projects, or even if you're not from the projects. You know what I'm saying? We speak for the people that don't have no voice, you know?
No doubt, man. And that's the shit. And there's plenty more. You know, this book covers the history up until now, but, you know, there's that much and more on the horizon.
New music is coming right behind the book.
Dope.
Oh. Mike, what are some of your hopes for the book?
Oh, yeah, man. Like I said, there was a few things there, you know. One, like I said, coming up in the 90s in the juggalo culture, for me, man, it's crazy because when I was, 15 years old, you never would have thought that the shit would still be going on all these years later. And a lot of people used to give us a hard time as fans and talk shit about us because, we were into ICP and Project Born and all this. Like, especially if you were like in the suburban areas, man, you kind of really had to fight for the music. And, it was it's just crazy how it's all kind of played out. And I'm really proud of the fact that it's still going, man. I'm proud of the fact that as I was able to like contribute, like just a voice to Project Born and get some of that down, and like Polk says, these are guys that literally had nothing and they were able to use their minds and use their intellect and make a musical career that spans 3 decades, and if that's not an inspiration, man, I really don't know what is. And sure. I thought it was important, especially with the scene, like you said, man, scenes, come and go. And if no one gets the shit down or writes it down, it's just lost. And, in like the minority communities, African-American communities, the stories are even told less. Sometimes I wonder how many great blues singers we never know even existed because no one told their story. And so it's kind of neat that I was able to help these guys get their story out, man. I mean, it was already done. These guys have lived a hell of a life, and it was just a lot of fun. It wasn't even work. And so I hope that by getting the book out, it gives these guys their proper place in Flint hip hop rap history, and in the Michigan and Midwest scene as well, because I think someday people will recognize what kind of special shit was going on in Flint and Detroit. So I just was hoping to get the ball rolling on the narrative, or at least slam our flag in the ground and say this is who we are. So that's my hope.
That is awesome. I really advise everyone watching to check out the book.
Yes.
There's a lot of great Project Born stuff on Spotify, and it's kind of cool how like the different eras, like Once Upon a Time in the Projects is a great record. Born Dead 2 is a great record. Born Dead 3, Born Supremacy, Crap or Natural. Like check out their new singles, because it's definitely a wide array of different styles. We did a song together that's coming out about Cthulhu, which I just wanted to plug, and they killed it.
Yeah.
Polk and Nitty killed it, and so that's gonna be dropping too. And I just appreciate the love they've given Hatchet Chat, and I appreciate both of you for being on the show. And like, just it's inspiring for anyone who wants to do something independently in an original way. Can look at the Project Born story and be like, all right, if you merge lyricism with the dark kind of themes and an honest portrayal of your life and like great beats, and you don't stop, it will resonate. And I think that gives a lot of people hope, and we need hope these days. That's something we need.
Right. Yes.
No,
yeah.
yeah.
Hey, man, the song is good, man, too, man. I can't wait to hear it in full.
Thanks, dude. I'll send you the mix. Yeah, I finished my final vocals the other day. I'll send you the track, but it came out great. Thank you for doing it so quick too.
Juggalos, this episode has dropped on the 7th, which means if you're watching this, you can buy the book right now. Physical copies are available at therealprojectborn.com, and you can get digital copies on Amazon. Again, I can't recommend it enough. What I've read so far is truly devastating. You got to check it out.
Forever in the Jects, available now. Check out the new Project Born biography. And I'm MC Lars.
I'm MC Snax, y'all. Whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Thanks to Polk and Mike for all your time. This has been a great interview.
Thank you, man. We appreciate y'all having us on, man. Much love
Thanks
to
for
you
having
guys.
Thanks, y'all. Peace. Whoop, whoop.